and we'll drop our tiny URL for you to sign up to receive our monthly updates, our newsletters, and all of that. Also want to let folks know that the call is being recorded. So we encourage or just ask folks to stay on mute just to avoid that background noise. And if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat, and we'll also open up too for any questions that come up throughout tonight's meeting. And I'm not sure, did I say, sorry, I'm like all over the place today. Did I say to drop the tiny URL for folks who are new to this space? Go ahead and drop that in the chat. This is where you can receive monthly updates and announcements. Also, if you're just not signed up for it, feel free to use that tiny URL. And then also just use the chat throughout tonight's meeting, introduce yourself. And yeah, so before I get started, I just want to let you all know kind of what we're going to get into tonight, especially with it being our last meeting of the year. We really just wanted to be in space with you all and just give a recap of what IJ has accomplished this year, what our departments have accomplished, and what you've accomplished this year, and just kind of just share that with each other. And as always, we're going to be starting off with a grounding just to hold space tonight and just, take a moment to debrief from a long day before we kind of get into a conversation. And yeah, I will go ahead and get started with the grounding. And then after that, you'll hear a few updates and then we'll just get started. So let me go ahead and share the grounding. Let me know if you can hear the noise or not.
Thank you for joining me for today's practice. Let's take a comfortable seat, perhaps with a cushion or block to elevate your hips. Allow yourself these first few moments to settle in, making any necessary adjustments. Once you're ready, gently close down your eyes. Start to notice your breathing, gently deepening and slowing down your breath. Take a deep inhale through the nose and out through your mouth. Once more, just like that. Deep inhale through the nose and out through your mouth. Allow your face to soften, releasing the jaw, the shoulders, and allow the crown of the head to lift up towards the sky as you ground down through your seat. Sensing the length along the entire spinal column. Begin to notice the breathing coming in and out of the nose. Perhaps sensing the coolness of the breath as you inhale and the slight warmth of the breath as you exhale. Allow the breath to be as it needs to be. Some breaths might be long, some might be short. One breath gently cascading into the next. Imagine your mind to be as spacious as a vast, open, clear sky. And any thoughts, sensations, or feelings that arise are like clouds that simply pass through. Observe and recognize them, but no need to engage or respond. Creating the space for whatever needs to be present to be here. Notice the space that you've created and continue to lightly follow your breathing. Place your left hand over the center of your chest and then your right hand on top of the left. You may feel the grounding sensation of the hands on your chest and allow the breath to softly deepen into that space. With each exhale, softening and letting go. Three more breaths, just like that. Inhaling into your hands. And as you exhale, letting go. Allow your hands to release down by your side onto your thighs. And when you're ready, gently blink open the eyes.
I'll give folks just a little bit to come back into the space. Feel free to come back on camera if you feel comfortable, and if not, whatever makes you most comfortable. I also realized that I think I was just excited to get into the grounding exercise that I forgot to introduce myself and my team as well. But for all of you who may not know me, I am Brianna. I'm a membership engagement outreach coordinator here. And thank you all for being here tonight. I'm super excited to kind of close out the year with you all. And with that, I'll pass it to my colleague Adriana to introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, I had some coffee in my throat. Good evening, everyone. My name is Adriana Griffith. I am the statewide advocacy manager here at Initiate Justice. It is a pleasure to be in space with you all this evening, particularly since this is our last meeting of the year. I saw in the chat that a couple of folks were here for the very first time, so welcome to you all. And I hope this is not your last meeting with us. I hope you can continue to come back. And I will pass it over to Ephraim.
Hey everyone, thank y'all for being here today. My name is Efrain Ortiz, pronouns he and him, him. I'm the outside programs associate, working directly with our outside members and outside organizers. So grateful to be in space with you all and welcoming all those that are new to this space. And like Adriana said, really hoping you guys continue to come back and be in community with us. With that, I'll pass it over to my colleague Lee.
What is up, my social justice warriors? Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Lee, he, him. I'm the community advocacy manager. I'm just happy to be in space with y'all. I know we're closing out the year. There's been a lot of stuff happening. politically, and but IJ keeps marching on, and we have a lot of wins and stuff that we want to talk about tonight. And yeah, just thank you so much for being here, and we enjoy being in space with you. And with that, I'll pass it over to Alyssa.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
It's perfect. Okay, I am currently multitasking. I am at my sister's dance performance before it starts. But Alyssa here, executive assistant with IJ. I'm excited for you all to see everything that we accomplished in 2024. As someone who heard it during our convening, a lot happens and you don't realize what happens until you actually have a recap. So I'm excited for y'all to see what we all learned that we accomplished. And excited to be in space with y'all, but hope y'all take something away from this. But I will pass it back to Brianna.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. Especially thank you to Lee and Alyssa for being here, being in space. We were just saying too before we logged on how much Lee's energy is like admired in this space, and it's just like so good to have. So I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you so much. And also before we get started too, I just wanted to share just some few organizational updates. Just a reminder that our office will be going on winter break. This will start on Monday, December 23rd. So we'll be out of office starting Monday, December 23rd, and then we will return on Monday, January 6th. So we just ask that you be patient during that time because we're going to be away from our emails and spending some time with just loved ones and really just taking some time to rest and prepare for the new year. And then secondly, for our first meeting of next year, our January monthly meeting, we're excited to announce that this is actually going to be the first community meeting that we're going to be trying hybrid. So we're going to actually be having a hybrid style where we have in person. We're going to host it in person. Ephraim and I will be in our downtown office. We'll drop the address in the chat. And we'll also have a virtual option. So for folks who can't make it up to the office, they may be busy, you'll still be able to attend Zoom. But we really just wanted to be in space with you all with this new year and just really start just more of that in person. So we're really excited to try this out, and as well as some other future meetings throughout next year. So we hope to see you in person in January. And thank you for dropping all of those in the chat, y'all.
Can I add to the
Absolutely.
hybrid thing too a little bit, just for folks that are newer to IJ? And so way back when, before COVID, right, before the days before anybody knew what Zoom was, Initiate Justice, we actually had two locations. So we had an office in Los Angeles, downtown LA, and then we had sort of like an office situation in Oakland. So we had like something up here in Northern California. And so we used to actually do our monthly meetings like in person, but sort of like a virtual hybrid setting where both sort of offices would sort of like conference in each other. So both offices would be in space together. And since COVID, everything has just been virtual. And so we are just really, really excited to try to shift back a little bit towards how we originally started and get us, like Brianna said, back into like being in space with one another in person, because the energy is just different. So I personally am really, really excited. We'll have a lot more opportunities and stuff like that, as Brianna said. Next month at the January meeting, we'll be talking more about what our plans are for the year of 2025. So definitely, whether you're able to attend in person or whether you are able to attend via Zoom virtually, do not want to miss our January meeting for sure, because we're going to talk about all the wonderful, wonderful things that we have planned for 2025. So just wanted to share that. But yeah, I'm excited to be in person next year with folks for sure. Sorry for my little rant. Passing it back to you, Brianna.
No, thank you so much. I kind of forgot to elaborate on that as well too, because I get confused with the hybrid situation. So thank you. And yeah, so without further ado, we can really just get into what we've all been wanting to share with you, which is just our 2024 wins at IJ throughout our departments. And as we said, we have Lee with us to share his department wins, Adriana for the outside organizing, Ephraim with the inside membership. So we're all just kind of happy to be able to share these. And like Alyssa said, like it was kind of hard when we're all so busy in our own departments to being able to see all of the accomplishments that we're doing. So it's really cool to be able to see that as a team and then share that with our community. So I will get started with our first department, which is outside membership. And thanks to you all for attending all of these. So we were able to have huge wins in our membership engagement. So as of this meeting, we've hosted 12 community meetings and had just times to hear from electeds, write legislative letters, and really just like engage with one another. And I thought that was super fun, and I love to be a part of those with you all. As well as that, we did several community action committee meetings, getting some action out there, engaging in some calls to action, and just continued our quarterly digital newsletter, which is what you all receive in the tiny URL that we dropped earlier in the chat. And along with that, we had some community events in our outside membership department. We were able to host our very first Mother's Day brunch in LA. That was really successful and something that we really want to continue on into following years. So we're really excited about that. And our next slide will include some pictures from that event as well. And we also collaborated with Drop LWAP for the first time. This was a big one, collaborating with an organization. It was really fun to just get out there with Drop LWAP and have that same just goal of being in the community and sharing resources. So we were able to go out to Fresno and do this in November, and we look forward to future collaborations with them as well as other organizations. And lastly, we were able to collaborate with Mass Incarceration Awareness Law Society, also known as MILES. They actually hosted a panel for formerly incarcerated. And they were able to just come and speak on this panel, some of our OOs, which was a really cool experience for them. And then lastly, we've engaged in some legislative advocacy this year. We were able to attend the Quest for Democracy Lobby Day. We attended the Policy Insights Conference, and also some of the team attended the TPW, the Transformative Programming Works convening. And if anyone wants to share about that as well too. And just to share some of that for you visually, as I'm a visual person, some of just the pictures of the wins that we've had with our outside membership, but also just IJ as a whole. So we just like wanted to share these all with you as well. And if anyone wants to add to those wins, please feel free.
I will add a little bit just to say, like, the Quest for Democracy, I think that was really like an exciting time because we got to really that organization, I forget who it was, All of Us or None and Legal Services for Prisoners with Children. They sponsored, some things. And so we were able to kind of like invite some of our members, our organizers out to come along with us and join that event. We went on lots of legislative visits, and then shout out to Brianna for hosting our very first Mother's Day brunch. And so it was definitely a success. It was our first time doing something like that, y'all. IJ has never attempted to do a Mother's Day brunch before. And so this was something that we took on, and Brianna did a fabulous job coordinating it. And so just shout out to her. This is also her first year with IJ, y'all. So huge project right out of the gate to be, something that she did her first time. So just wanting to give her flowers. But yeah, I think those were the two like outside membership things that really stuck out to me this year.
I'll jump in. I dropped it in the chat, and like for those new to the space or those unfamiliar, like Miles Mass Incarceration Awareness Law Society was started by our then policy director Greg, who attended Southwestern Law School, and it's a collaboration we've done with before, where they volunteer with us, and then also we collaborate with them on different things in the past. But I think this year was like very exciting because we actually got to host a panel. Well, they hosted a panel with some of our outside organizers, and really again, in all these wins for our membership, including like the Mother's Day brunch and all these, the Quest for Democracy, the TPW, it's again, we got opportunity for our members and organizers to really get out there and share their stories, right? We talk about the importance of the power of our voices and the impacts of our experiences. And I think all of these do that in different various spaces. So really shout out to the team for making that happen, Brianna, making this happen. And looking forward to, like, especially like the Mother's Day brunch and things of that nature, and really being out in the community and giving opportunities for our members to really express their voices of especially how incarceration affects us all, right? Those that are incarcerated, our loved ones that we leave behind out here, and our community as a whole. So I think these are huge wins for us.
Thank you all, and it wouldn't have been possible without you both, and just like the team as a whole. So I appreciate it, and it's like so nice to reflect on these together. Also, I'm so used to zooming on my phone, so I'm trying to like react in the Zoom, and I'm just changing slides. So please bear with me as I'm doing random things over here. But thank you all. And with that, I will pass it back to you, Adriana, to share some of the outside organizing wins.
Thank you, Brianna. Yes, so outside organizing. So for those that do not know or who may be new to the space or just need a refresher, one of the departments that we have here at Initiate Justice is our outside organizing department, and that houses one of our programs called the Institute of Impacted Leaders, which is a 12-week organizing and training program for people directly impacted by incarceration. So we teach them about policy advocacy, civic engagement, how a bill becomes a law, all that good stuff. We take folks do practical activities like legislative visits or lobby days and things like that. So super great program. I graduated from the program in 2019 out of Oakland. And so many of our staff have also gone through the program, and going through that would graduates become outside organizers for Initiate Justice. So you may hear us on occasion refer to folks as OOs or organizers, outside organizers. So that is what we mean, folks who have graduated from this particular program. So with that context out of the way, outside organizing and the Institute of Impacted Leaders had really big wins this year. This was our first year, much like I said earlier, previously to COVID, we did a lot of, like everybody else, we were in person doing our cohorts and things of that nature. When COVID hit, everything went to Zoom, right? Everything went virtual. And so we have still been doing the Institute of Impacted Leaders program virtually since, even, coming back and doing some things in person. Institute was still virtual. So this year, we decided to take a risk and do it hybrid style. So we were able to graduate 2 hybrid cohorts this year. One out of LA, we graduated 23 new people from the Institute of Impacted Leaders program. This was our 5th time going back to Los Angeles County for this cohort. LA is so big, so we continuously have to go back to make sure that we get everybody. And then for the first time ever, we were out in San Joaquin County. So this was a smaller cohort, but we had 5 super strong, amazing graduates from this cohort that were from Stockton, Turlock, Tracy, I think, Modesto, even had a couple of folks, one person from the Sacramento area, like Folsom. And so we were able to still get people from a good area. But essentially, we graduated almost 30 new people this year out of this program. So that's a really good success, especially San Joaquin County being a little bit more of a conservative county in the Central Valley. And so we went back to the Central Valley for the first time. Lorraine says she is in Merced County. So Ephraim, I don't know if you can drop the link to the Institute interest form. So we'll explain more about that in our next meeting next month, but Ephraim's going to drop an interest form. So if it sounds like something that you might be interested in learning more about, definitely head over and sign up on that interest form to learn more. But we graduated 2 cohorts, right? And we also hosted our very first in-person, well, not our very first, but our first in-person lobby day since 2019. And so midway through the Institute, we have a practical activity where we take where we usually typically have the cohorts either do an in-district visit with their legislators in their own community, or we have like a legislative town hall that folks attend. This year, we took folks to the Capitol. So we took folks from Los Angeles and San Joaquin County up to Sacramento for a day of legislative advocacy. Some folks, it was their very first time in Sacramento, their very first time doing any type of advocacy at the Capitol, any lobbying. So it was an amazing, amazing day. But it was our first time. The last time we were there was when I was in Institute way back in 2019. As I said, since COVID happened, everything was virtual. So we weren't doing this. So it was a huge win to come back and do this after a few years of being completely online. So shouts out to us, the team, and everybody that participated in that. We made some improvements to our application process for Institute. So we just made things a little bit better for people who are interested in wanting to apply, trying to make things a lot more understandable for our community. We also hosted 6 power building sessions for our outside organizers. And again, these are graduates of our Institute of Impacted Leaders program. And so these are specific sessions that encourage them to grow in their leadership skills, their organizing and their advocacy skills. So we create different meetings and opportunities for them to learn more and continue in that legislative advocacy, that pathway. So we had guests from like Courage California in February. We've had guests from the California Budget and Policy Center come and talk to our organizers specifically about the budget and how to understand the budget. That's not something that we cover in our curriculum. So we bring in guests to kind of help fill those gaps in that education and still get that provided to folks. And we also established a new policy proposal process. Again, this is something that is at this point in time very specific to graduates of our Institute of Impacted Leaders. We are hoping to expand this opportunity to our general members in the future. But for now, we're starting small with just our graduates and our alumni of the Institute of Impacted Leaders. But essentially, since they have gone through a program that teaches them how a bill becomes a law, teaches them about bill proposals and policy and legislation, we give them this, and since we are a policy organization ourselves, this new process gives them the ability to maybe share their own policy ideas with us. Maybe they have an idea that they think IJ should run, or IJ would be a great person to, or a great organization to run a particular bill. And so we've created a process for them to suggest that to us and say, hey, I have a bill idea. Here's the information. What do you think? And then we have a nice conversation about it with our policy director. So something new that we created, again, we're hoping that to expand on that for our general membership in the future. So for now, we're starting small, but these were some big wins. We taking some risks, and we hope to just continue to improve on this next year. These are some pictures from all of our advocacy this year. So we have pictures from our lobby day. So the pictures where you have a lot of people in them are going to be more so from our lobby day experience. We have a couple of pictures where you'll see a backdrop that has like our Initiate Justice logo. And those are pictures from our Institute graduations. So we have one picture from our LA graduation. I see a couple of pictures from our San Joaquin graduation. And then, as I said, lots and lots of pictures from our advocacy throughout the year. So lobby days at the Capitol. We also did a small lobby day and rally in collaboration with other organizations for the No on Prop 36 campaign. So you also see some of us there holding a bunch of signs that say No on 36. We're all very sad that it passed, but we continue the fight. And just because one thing passes doesn't mean that we give up, and we're going to continue to fight in other areas. But this is just a quick recap on our year within the outside organizing department and Institute of Impacted Leaders. Efrain, I know this was your first year facilitating the Institute of Impacted Leaders. Wanted to know if you wanted to quickly share anything about your experience as a first-time facilitator.
Just really just grateful for the opportunity really to be in the fold, having graduated from the Institute of Impacted Leaders myself, so from the San Fernando Valley cohort in 20, I can't remember now. But going back into it and being able to facilitate, co-facilitate this with Graham, again with a bunch of powerful advocates already doing the work, and just again, sharpening those tools, getting some new tools out of it was great to see. But I think the most important thing I think I would say is like that I took from it was really the sense of community since we did it in the hybrid model, we did in person. We brought it back to in person, and then the people power of that lobby day of being all up in Sacramento, really walking with our community members, and really reminding them that that's our house and they work for us, and really giving that empowerment to all our graduates. So really shout out to the graduates for the amazing work, for making it easy for me, and then thank you, Adriana, for all the support. Like it was definitely, I learned so much, and then obviously got to sharpen up my tool belt again, right? Going through it again, it's great to continue to grow and continue to learn more, and I learned so much from those graduates.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I dropped the link again in the chat. We also have like a tiny URL, so that's a little bit easier to save and let folks know. So we are scouting locations for next summer's cohorts. And so if you are in an area that we haven't been to, or maybe this is your first time hearing about something like this and it piques your interest, head on over to tinyurl.com/institute interest. Fill out an interest form, and that's kind of how we choose our locations. We go where people want us, where people want to learn this information. So Lorraine, I see you are interested. Head on over to that form. You can also feel free to reach out to me. I will drop my email into the chat. But for anybody else that is interested and maybe you have some questions or something like that, feel free to reach out to me at adriana@initiatejustice.org. I think I spelled initiate wrong, but if I did, charge it to my head and not my heart. But yeah, that's all I have, and I'll pass it back over to you, Brianna, if there's no questions.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. And if there are questions, anytime throughout the meeting, you guys can just put it in the chat and we'll get around to it. But thank you both so much for sharing those wins. And I will also pass it back to you, Ephraim, to share some wins from Inside Membership.
Yeah, for sure. So for those that don't know, I started with IJ 3 years ago with the Inside Membership Department, and this year I transitioned to the outside membership, outside organizing. So I wanted to really highlight like a lot of these wins for the Inside Membership Department. It was such an amazing year just to see, again, as Alyssa had said earlier, and we talked about like, we're constantly working, and like we don't really take time to pause and reflect. So I really enjoyed like when I was going back and seeing these numbers and reflecting on this. It's really amazing to see this. But yeah, the Inside Journal, for those that don't know, it's a quarterly policy newsletter that we send inside to nearly half the California prison population, which updates on the status of the bills that we are working on throughout the year, where they're at in the legislative process and things of that nature. And the end of the year, we also highlight really all other bills from the various CJ spaces that are being pushed by other amazing organizations, just to really keep them in the loop and really keep our community members inside informed. And then we also utilize that journal to really connect them to the outside, and then also as a form of uplifting their voices with such things such as art. We also send in legislative letters of support where they inside can actually write legislative letters of support for things that we're working on. So just different ways to engage. And I talk about it here at the bottom, you see there. But we were able to send all 4 editions of the Inside Journal to our folks inside. We now are over the 3,000 mark of inside members who received the journal in Spanish, which was something that we began a few years back. But this journal, again, it provides more engagement, education opportunities for them. Such things, some of the things that we include in there are like the policy education topics, on top of like the bills that we're working on and where they're at in the legislative process. We do policy education topics because I think the policy jargon is something that I struggle with. So I could imagine our folks inside when we talk about certain things. So we really want to keep them in the know and really continue to help educate them, and so they can follow along with us. Abolition topics. We did this year. We did a free the vote survey, which was something that we continue to work on. IJ will continue to work on is really restoring voting rights for those folks that are incarcerated. We were able to pass Proposition 17 with the support of many of our community members, many other organizations, to restore voting rights for people on parole. And we want to continue to do that and get those voting rights restored. So we did a survey in which we received over, I believe it was like 1,300 survey responses from our folks inside to talk where they talked about what's really important to them when it comes down to voting rights. And as I mentioned earlier, we give them opportunities for them to uplift their voices with those letters of support. Again, we continue to empower and uplift those voices from inside. Responded to over 350 letters from our inside members, where we, give them information in regards to prior bills we have passed, maybe bills that we're working on this year, other resources, legal resources. Since we are not a direct service provider, we do have a resource list for legal resources and reentry resources, so things of that nature, amongst others. We added over 3,000 new members to our mailing list, so now they will be receiving that inside journal and things of that nature, keeping them connected with our communities. Any type of mailings that we send inside, they're able to receive. I mentioned there, it was 1,124 free the vote surveys. I apologize, I said 1,300 earlier, but that was our total number of surveys that we did. And then also we got the opportunity to really go inside, right, and meet with our members inside, really connect with them. Again, providing them resources. We attended, I believe we did 2 resource fairs and then a couple workshops in collaboration with the inside organizing department. And then another one that I really wanted to highlight, as I mentioned, really uplifting the voices was, the artwork, right? We highlighted 21 pieces of artwork from inside members, showcased it for the CAA, which is a Chinese for affirmative action. They had a celebration of justice event where Initiate Justice received the Flaming Justice Award. So it was a great opportunity really to showcase the amazing and beautiful artwork and share it with the rest of the community members in that space. And I think we have some pictures of that there on the next slide. So there you see some of the team members there with some of our inside organizers, some inside members. You see someone with the resource fair down at the bottom left. You see my colleague Adam and our executive director Antoinette at the award ceremony where we received the Flaming Justice Award. And in the back, you see the artwork being displayed there for the community to see. And then you see a copy of the Inside Journal, which is the journal I was talking about. And then for those that are new, you could also see the issue for you all out here. You could also see that on our website under resources. So definitely, if you want, click on that and you could check it out there and see like the type of things that we send inside. And then that stack of mail, I always like to show the mail because it's a lot. Those are our surveys that came in. That's just part of them, I should say. So yeah, and then I did want to highlight something. I did want to say, just to remind folks, like we're a small team. Initiate Justice is a small team. So all of those things, right? The translation of the journal, right? Responding to this mail, adding new members to our membership roster, like none of this would be possible without our amazing community, our volunteers that support our work. And really have helped us to do all that, right? To make sure that we're responding to these letters and providing our members inside, our community members inside with resources, right? Adding them to the mailing list, so they receive our policy journal inside and things of that nature, and really keeping them connected with us. So really shout out to our volunteers. And if you feel like you would like to get involved, definitely send me an email and I could add you to our volunteer roster that we have there. And then again, just so you know, we do like a quick training on it. It's pretty simple work. So if you're interested, something you're interested in that, I could definitely drop my email, send me an email, and then we can add you to that. Oh, thank you, Adriana, for dropping that. But yeah, if you have any questions, reach out. If not, pass it back to you, Brianna.
Thank you so much, Efrain. And thank you to just like all the work that you've done. And like Adriana said, I always love seeing the artwork and just like reading the journal. I think about how much I would appreciate that if I were to receive something like that inside. So I just like, I love all the work that the inside membership team does. So thank you so much for all of that. And if no one wants to add anything, with that, I will pass it to inside organizing. So I'll pass it to you, Lee. And thank you again so much for being here. We appreciate you taking time tonight.
It's me. It's me. What's up, people? Man, it is so good. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about inside organizing. For folks that don't know what inside organizing is our groups of individuals that are incarcerated that are very staunch advocates. They want to learn more about the political system. They want to know more about the legislative system, how they can get involved in their community. And so what we do in the inside organizing department is we have a curriculum that we'll either send into them, or we get to go inside and have these one-on-one conversations with them, or with large groups. Sometimes it's 20 people, sometimes it's 150 people, sometimes it's 300 people that we're having these conversations with. So we actually get to go inside the institutions, and you know, when it's allowed and when we are able to, we're able to bring in some of our team members. And this next year, we're looking to bring in some volunteers, legislators and stuff. So please stay tuned for that information too, as it starts to unwind coming up in this next year. So we had over 100 IOs added this year. Those are inside organizers. Those are people that have gone through the curriculum or gone through the training with us. It's a 62-page curriculum. It talks about the things that I already mentioned, plus intersectionality, plus person-centered language, plus civic engagement in their community, how they can get involved with their family members and their loved ones. So currently we have 450 of those people that are inside right now. 45 of those are senior IOs. Those senior IOs are the people that take lead in the other things that we're doing, like when we need them to talk to publications, when we need them to talk to legislators, when we need some audio recordings to be able to share about the bills, about how things are affecting them inside. Those are the people that we really want to put up in front. Because they have already gone through it. They're well spoken. They know all about the bills. They know the subject matter that they're talking about, and they're putting their best foot forward and talking to those other folks that I had mentioned about the things that are problems in there, or things that they can do better. Mentors, we have 16 mentors. Those are people that actually teach this curriculum inside. And so they're teaching groups of 20 to 35 people during a cycle inside. So they're continuously making sure this information is available. We have 9 IJAGs up and running in on a weekly basis inside. IJAGs are Initiate Justice activity groups, and those are what the mentors are teaching inside. Also, we got to go in 24 times this year. This is with us and with staff, me, Adam, and some of the staff members. We did 13 workshops, what I just talked about already. We did 7 resource fairs. I know Efrain was talking a little bit about those, and we were showing some pictures of those, and the folks who, when we go in with other community-based organizations, and we're just there to be able to share the information and support our other community-based organizations, making sure everybody's plugged into the resources that they need, and making sure that they're aware of the things that are going on in the community and how they can get involved, because that's really it. We have the inside out approach. We want to make sure the folks inside are connected with the folks outside, and vice versa. We also went to 2 special events and 2 graduations. In all, we were totaling up, we were able to have one-on-one or face-to-face contact with over 3,300 people inside IJ staff. We were able to talk with them, explore different ideas, talk about bills, talk about legislation, talk about what other things that they could do. Networking, we were able to collaborate with 10 other orgs to bring IO and IJ awareness to them. And what I mean by collaborating is they're working on surveys, they're working on information, they need stuff with bills that they're working on. They need to be able to come in sometimes with us and join us and talk about these other talk about these other issues that are going on politically within our sphere in California. And so we were able to collaborate with 10 orgs this year. So that was really highly important for us. Also, we did 2 panel presentations, coast to coast, baby. We went from New York to San Francisco. Adam went out to New York. He was talking all about IJ, what's going on out there. A bunch of abolitionist groups out there that he was able to make contact with, people that he was able to connect with, and then connect us with them. And I was able to join the American Criminology Society panel, which was interesting in San Francisco. These are a bunch of cops and DAs, and but also a lot of people from colleges and stuff that are going through college talking about criminology. So I was able to go up there, represent IJ, talk about abolitionists, talking about why other resources are needed versus incarceration, and how we can actually use health for our care versus harm that is doing stuff to our community that we don't like. Brianna, can you please just flip over to a couple of the pictures? I would want to just point a few of them out. So these right here were a few pictures of the folks that we went in. These were a couple of the special events that we had. This is CCWF on the top right. We were able to go in there, bring some live music in there, bring some food in there. We were able to bring other organizations in there and talk about what they're doing, what we're doing. And then it turned into a dance party because we had music. And so that's the bottom right. We were all turned up. We were live. We were having fun. And this was this first event that they had coming out of COVID that was like big. So that was really important. And then just on the left, these are some of the civic engagement workshops that we have when we're talking to folks. Of course, we're very interactive with them. We want them to know the information inside and out. And so we're always prompting them with questions and making sure that they're involved. And so, yeah, if, look forward to this in the future. These are when we talk about inside organizing, I know Brianna is taking this over, and hopefully we can be more and more involved in these meetings and stuff. Be on the lookout for an email that's going to be coming down on the listserv that's asking you to sign for a holiday card. All you have to do is send a brief message in for these, and for a holiday card. Every year we send in a holiday card where it comes from the community members. Just show a little bit of love if you can, if you have the time. We're going to be able to post that out, print that out, get it to them by the end of the year, and that way that they know, the folks are still fighting. We've done this every year that I've been in the organization for the last 5 years, and so we look forward to continuing with that ritual, or continuing with that means. And you all can always hit me up, lee@initiatejustice.org, if there's any other thing that you want to know about inside organizing or IJ, or how you can get plugged in, or your family members, your loved ones plugged in with other community-based organizations. We have a lot of allies, a lot of reach, and so we just want to make sure that we're here for you all. And so with that, I'll pass it back over to Brianna. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lee. I always love having you in this space, and your energy just makes it so much better. So thank you, and thank you for coming to share everything that you've done in the IO department, just like for our IOs and for our inside community. It's so nice to hear and just share with our outside community. So thank you.
All righty, I guess that's me again. I'm gonna hop in here. Our policy director was not able to make it tonight, so I am going to cover this slide. I think I got it, y'all. I think I know what I'm talking about. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we don't just do all of these wonderful things with our inside organizers and our outside organizers. We are also working all year long on effective policy, on passing effective policy and legislation at the statewide level to ensure that our community is protected, safe, have the resources that they need, all of those good things. And so we had quite a few policy wins this year. I'm not going to go into too much about these this evening because we do still have another activity that we want to do with you all. We did cover all of our policy wins in our meeting last month. And so that is recorded and it is up on our YouTube page. So feel free to go back on our YouTube page and watch that whole meeting. You will hear a really in-depth from our policy director on all of these bills and everything that they do and everything in between. And she even addressed a few frequently asked questions in that meeting as well. So you can find that on YouTube at Initiate Justice. That's our handle there. But for this slide, like I said, we had quite a few policy wins. We had 4 bills, 4 pieces of legislation that we had signed into law this year by the governor. And so AB 1986, which addresses CDCR book bans, essentially this bill created a process for review of books and to see whether or not they warrant being banned within CDCR, or if they can come off of that list. This bill also made it so that the list of banned books has to be posted on the Office of Attorney General's website. So that way it's something that's known. This is something that nobody really knows what's on the list, and there's a lot of books on the list. And so this is going to be something that really helps folks inside. It's going to eliminate a lot of, I think, censorship that happens. And like I said, we created a review process for these things. And so that if something doesn't need to be on that list, it can be removed. So that's 1986, and we had Assemblymember Bryan, Isaac Bryan, who was the author of that bill. The next bill that we had signed was AB 1186 by Assemblymember Bonta. This addressed youth restitution and restitution overall. Essentially what this bill, part of what this bill does is puts a cap on collecting restitution after 10 years. And so after 10 years, restitution becomes uncollectible, sort of like other credit things that kind of fall off after 7 years or so. So it's similar to that situation. This also makes it so that youth who are wards of the court do not have to pay restitution. So if they're a youth and they are a ward of the court, means they do not get restitution orders. Bill does a couple of other things too, where it concerns like co-defendants and youth who are co-defendants and things like that. So really, really good bill, really, really great bill to make sure that restitution and collecting restitution from youth in particular is done fairly. And we're not just setting young people up for massive amounts of debt in their future, and make sure that they can successfully do their restitution. Another really, really crucial bill that we passed this year was AB 2310 by Assemblymember Hart. This is deals with parole language access. And so what this bill does is it will ensure that there are essentially a few really important documents that explain the border parole procedure process, and certain decisions that are made when it comes to someone's hearings, and whether or not they will be released on parole or found suitable and things of that nature. Up until now, even right now, all of these documents are just in English. And so there has been no translation services or no interpretation services available for folks who do not speak English, who are going through the system and are going up to the parole board. And so this will create a way for a bunch of the frequently used documents, like I said, explaining the procedures and the different decisions that are being made about a person and things like that, into the 5 most common non-English languages. So Spanish, Mandarin, I don't know what the other languages are off the top of my head, but this bill is going to help a lot of people who get caught up in the system who aren't, English isn't their first language, right? And so this is going to help a lot of folks. And then AB 2483 by Assemblymember Ting. This is a resentencing bill. Just clears up some guidelines. Essentially what this bill does is it requires judges and public defenders to have a meeting and collaborate before any resentencing laws are implemented. So essentially like creating a plan, right? So they meet and they have to create a plan so that resentencing procedures are a lot more equitable. They happen a lot faster. They're not held up by bureaucracy and things like that. So doesn't create necessarily any new pathways or anything like that, but it just sort of requires that the people that are in charge meet, collaborate, come up with a plan, and make sure that resentencing procedures are happening kind of consistently, as swiftly as they possibly can. So those are 4 of the bills that we got signed. We did make some progress on voting rights, restorative justice, and gate money. So for instance, AB 544 by Assemblymember Bryan, this was voting in jails and county jails bill. So this bill specifically would have created a pilot program in 3 counties where voting in jails would have been made easier, more accessible to those folks that are currently sitting in county jail who have not lost their right to vote. And so this bill was passed by the legislature, but ultimately vetoed by the governor, unfortunately. So although we made progress in the legislature, the governor ultimately vetoed the bill. Another bill, unfortunately, I see a question, why did the governor veto the bill? That is a good question. And so I remember, I don't have the veto message in front of me, but I do remember some of the language in his message being around counties already having the ability to do this. And then this was a really tough budget year for CJ reform, for just policy period, really tough budget year. And so because it would involve some monies, it was something that he wasn't really willing to sort of negotiate on or have the state pay for at this particular time. So it's not something that we are going to give up. Again, this was something that was going to be a pilot program in 3 counties. And so people in county jail still have the right to vote. So you can definitely be, when it comes time to vote again in our state in another couple years, definitely you can hit up your local county jails and make sure and ask them those questions, right? Like, how are you ensuring that folks who have the right to vote, who are sitting in county jail, are getting their ballots and getting the voting information that they need. So it's definitely something folks can still advocate for. Another bill is AB 2833 by Assemblymember McKinnon. So this was the Restorative Justice Integrity Act. This bill would have created some protections in the restorative justice process that protect the folks engaging in that process against any harmful statements or any statements that they may say. We wanted to keep that space very safe. And so it was passed by the Assembly with overwhelming support, but this bill was ultimately parked by the coalition in the Senate once it got there for very strategic reasons. And so again, our policy director really went into explaining more about this and those specific reasons in our last video from last month. So definitely, again, encouraging folks to go back and watch that back. And then we did some budget advocacy things. So we ended the practice of CDCR deducting funds from $200 worth of gate money for things such as clothing and transportation, and got $1.8 million allocated in the state budget for transportation and clothing to be provided upon release, so that it does not come out of the gate money that folks receive when they parole. So some wins, some progress, took some steps forward, maybe took a step back. But all in all, these are really, really good wins this year in terms of policy and in terms of budget advocacy, because we stopped CDCR from taking people's money. $200 is not a lot to get out of prison with and find clothing, food, shelter, all of these things. And so if we can do the work to make sure that folks can keep every single penny of that $200 to have the best chance of success, then that's what we're going to do. So any other questions on these really quickly? I don't see any in the chat. So Brianna, if you can go to the next slide. And then we didn't just pass some really great stuff. We also defeated a lot of really harmful bills. So part of legislative advocacy isn't just going for the wins. We obviously want to go for our wins, but it's also about playing really smart defense. There was a lot of really harmful bills that tried to wiggle through the legislature this year. And so it was the team, it was all of you out there in the community who were calling legislators, showing up to meetings, spreading awareness to your friends, family members, loved ones, etc., that got these bills defeated. And so there was one really harmful bill. You can see them on your screen. For the sake of time, I'm going to highlight one, which was AB 1990 by Assemblymember Carrillo. And so this bill would have allowed warrantless arrests when it came to instances of shoplifting, etc. So wouldn't need a warrant, wouldn't have even need to see you do any type of shoplifting, wouldn't need to see anything. Somebody could just say, hey, I think this person's stealing, and the police can arrest you for shoplifting and detain you and make an actual arrest without ever having any probable cause. And so this was a very, very dangerous bill. Thankfully, we were able to defeat it, and it was not signed into law. And so we are keeping people's civil liberties intact, one bill at a time. We also were able to stop several Prop 47 rollbacks. So despite, again, Prop 36 passing on the ballot, in the legislature, we were able to stop a lot of harmful rollbacks to Prop 47. So we kept a lot of really good things about Prop 47 intact. And we were able to successfully defeat some really harmful budget cuts, particularly budget cuts that were targeting programs that were going inside of prisons. And so we were able to stop that and make sure that folks still have the ability to go inside and host really important programs like the IJAGs and the civic engagement trainings and things like that inside facilities. So more great wins. These were bad bills, but we defeated them. So really, really great wins. Does anybody have any questions on these? I saw lots of like emojis going when I was talking. So great job. And just shout out again to all of you, whether you are watching this video back or whether you're here in space with us live, whether you did a lot, whether you did a little, doesn't matter. If you contributed in some way to any of these, thank you so much on behalf of Initiate Justice and the entire community. It takes all of us to step up and defeat these things. And so, like I said, calling your own legislature just to voice your concern, your opposition, or your support for any of these bills, it goes a long way, especially if you're a constituent. So thank you all for your support. And stay tuned next year to see what we have planned for next year. It should be really, really exciting. Passing it back to you, Brianna.
Thank you, Adriana, for sharing the policy wins. And like Adriana said, we just really look forward to having you next year with us and just like getting into some of the new things that we'll be introducing, but just like being in space with you all. We're just like really excited about that. But before we do that and before we close out tonight, we just kind of wanted to take a moment and hear from you all what some of your wins were this year. I think like to start off, like an example, and I think a lot of the team can resonate with this. I think we've gone through like a lot with our personal lives and a lot of just things just going on beyond work. And I think we're all still here, like able to share these wins and be in space with you all and just like remain like steadfast in this work. I think that's like a huge accomplishment. I think it's easy to get like pulled away from work when a lot of things are happening in your personal life, like family, all of that thing. So I think to also just like remain to the mission of this work and like us being so dedicated, I think it's like a huge win for us to just be here and share these wins and be in space with you all still. And if any of the team has any wins, and also too, if you have any wins that you'd like to share with us, you can feel free to drop it in the chat if that's more comfortable, or we invite you to come off mute as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brand, for creating this space and just creating like this little chunk of time for us to like as a community to share our wins. I think, it's really important when we come into this space and say, look at what IJ has done, look at what all we've done. But it's not just about what IJ has done and we've succeeded, right? And our goals. But we are a community of people. And so like to be able to take a moment and say like, hey, what are our personal wins? And share them with all of you and then have you share your wins with all of us. I think that's one thing that kind of keeps us going in this space, right? It's hard work. But when we know that, people are counting on us or people are, in the same boats or whatever it is, it makes so much difference. And so I think I can hop in and model here. And as Brianna said, feel free to like, raise your hand. We'll bring you off mute or drop it in the chat. But I think when I think about this year, it's been a year for me of like growth and learning. And so a win that I am taking away this year is just the growth that I've had as, a leader in this space, in this CG space, or just being an advocate, right? I've learned a whole lot this year around like just patience and being flexible and needing to pivot. And so I think those are wins I'm taking away. And I'm also taking away like cautious optimism, right? That's a win for me this year, cautious optimism. I think, with it being an election year, a lot of us were disappointed with many of the results, whether it be statewide or a federal race. And so just keeping hope alive and saying going into 2025 with the hope that despite what the world may look like I'm going to stay positive and I'm going to stay hopeful because that the community keeps me that way. And there's always hope as long as there's somebody that's willing to fight for what is right. So that's my win, is just growth and patience and acceptance and all of that. So it's been a strange 2024, but I invite others to come off and share like what their wins were. And it could be big, small. I mean, maybe your win was like you finally got to Disneyland, right? Maybe that's your win. Oh, I do have another win. I did 2 concerts this year. Usually I just do 1. I did 2 this year. So I saw Avril Lavigne for the first time. So the 16-year-old in me can die happy. But other than that, like, I'm curious to hear what other folks have done. I see Anna with a hand. So I'll pass it to you, Anna. Feel free to come off mute and share. Introduce yourself to the group and
Thanks.
feel free to share.
Yes, Anna. I'm from Santa Barbara County. And my first one, I wanted to say thank you to Initiate Justice, because I know y'all are always sending these great opportunities and like things going on in the community and everything. And I just want to say thank you for that, because of those emails, my daughter and I were able to go to the Sentencing Project event in Chicago, completely paid. We didn't have to fly from LAX. We flew from Santa Barbara. We were there for 3 days. We got to experience the city too, and like take learn about the parole process and about how to bring back strategies back to our community in Santa Barbara. So it was just like such a blessing, and like I wouldn't have known about that opportunity if it wasn't for like all, you know, the amazing opportunities you're always sharing. So thank you so much. Like I always read out onto those, and I pass them on forward, even for folks who aren't like a part of Initiate Justice. I'm like, oh, this opportunity would be great for you, you know, like check it out. So thank you so much for that. And then my other win is kind of a scary win, and it hasn't really like fulfilled yet, but I officially signed up for February 7th for the LSAT. So I'm officially taking the LSAT on February 7th. So that, you know, it's been very scary to think about, and you know, like actually having to do it, but I've studied for like 3 years, and like I'm like, you know what, I've done as much studying as my brain's gonna take, and like I just need to do it. So yeah, that's, you know, I I don't know, I'm ready. What it is, it's gonna be, and you know, I know I have the experience. I just need to get this test going. But thank you for everything y'all do. I appreciate it.
That's amazing. That's dope. Like even getting to the point like you ain't took the test yet, but you're going to take the test, like that's huge, right? And so not everybody gets to that point of now I'm about to take the test. Not everybody gets there. So that's definitely like a huge win. A win is a win, no matter how big or how small. You got, yeah, I agree with Sherry. You got this. Like, I'm so excited for you. So congratulations on getting to this point, and I can't wait to hear the win after you take the test and you pass the test. I can't wait. So congratulations, Anna. Anybody else? I seen a couple folks dropping some stuff in the chat, so feel free to come off mute if you want. Lisa said that a win for her was being able to learn from the LA cohort. So one of our most recent graduates. So that's definitely a win. I see somebody else saying being a win as being an ongoing, like in ongoing youth leadership. So that was Lorraine. So lots of really good wins. I don't know if anybody else wants to come off mute and share some wins, or if anybody on the team has any other wins they want to share.
If it's okay, I would like to share something.
Absolutely. Take it away. Floor is yours.
Okay, well, I'm Celeste Villagrana, and I graduated from one of the cohorts. I think it was back in 2021. I can't really remember the exact date, but I'm also grateful that I got the opportunity to learn about advocating for myself and my husband. He is now a year out, and that's my win. You know, my win is seeing that he's kept his word on the things that he set his goals, and we're doing well. I want to say that I am grateful for everything that I have right now, and just looking forward to what else is coming. And another win for me is continuing my education, also in just staying connected to you guys. And like, I believe the name of the other people are is ARC. I am grateful to them. And then Equal Opportunity, what is it called, babe? I'm sorry. CEO, because they're very helpful. They were like instrumental in making sure that he found a job immediately after coming out. ARC in providing mental health, you know, resources, giving them stipends. I mean, like all of you guys, to me, is just amazing how great, how much help now is available to our people coming home than it was so many years ago, right? Because at first, when I thought about him coming home, I was thinking, oh, he's not going to have the opportunity to find a job, or you know, it's not going to be easy for him. He's going to struggle. And being a part of you guys just opened my eyes to so much and how I could help him. So that's a great win, and thank you all for that. And yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Go for it, Magdalena. You're on mute.
One of the I have here is one of my niece, Dulce. I can introduce to her. She's going through some rough times and she needs our support. She's new to the group. I'm from San Jose. I graduated on 2022 San Jose cohort, and she's also interested in signing up for the next year cohort. Dulce, are you there? Do you hear me? I don't know if she's there. Hello.
I think they came off mute. I don't know if it might not have like a microphone situation hooked up. But I went ahead and dropped the Institute of Impacted Leaders interest form, the tiny URL link into the chat again. So
Okay.
so definitely. No, we can't hear you. Is it Dulce?
Yes.
Yeah, we can't hear you. I see that you're not muted, but we can't hear you, so it might be just like an audio issue. I'm also dropping my email into the chat one more time. So if there is questions about the Institute of Impacted Leaders, or again, if for some reason the link doesn't work or you lose it, you can always reach out to me and I'd be happy to share the interest form. And then once we actually announce where our cohorts will be, that probably will be somewhere around like February, like maybe even March, when we start announcing like where the cohorts will be and when applications will go out. Ephraim,
Okay.
you can also reach out to Ephraim as well. He dropped his email into the chat too. Thank you, Ephraim.
Yeah, and I just wanted to jump in and say, like, I think this is the important thing. You know, just know that we're here as a community, and we're here to support one another, as you said. So I drop my email also, like if there's any resources that you may be looking for, and I'll lend myself out to, again, we don't have the direct services besides the Institute of Impacted Leaders, but definitely connected to a lot of our amazing community partner organizations. So if there's any resources needed, feel free to email me in regards to that, and I'll do my best to connect you with somebody in regards to that. Celeste, I also wanted to say, tell your hubby welcome home. I know he's back there in the background, so welcome home. So amazing to see our loved ones coming home and succeeding, and having access to all these resources and being in community. So hope to continue to have you all in space with us. And again, my invitations to him as well. If there's any way we can support any other way, my email's there. Please don't hesitate, to ask. And as Adriana said, if I don't reply right away, charge it to my mind, not my heart. We're here as a community. We're here to support each other. We're here to applaud each other's wins. I think that's what today was about, right? It wasn't really about IJ. It's about all of us as a whole. And, if you didn't share nothing here with us today, really stop and acknowledge that, right? Really reflect on those wins. Because sometimes they can be easily overlooked because like what my friend says, life be lifing, right? We get so busy and just continuously moving, whether work, personal life, and things of that nature. Um, so yeah, just definitely acknowledge yourself, take that time to reflect, and really pat yourself on the back and clap for yourself. Applaud those wins, as Adriana said earlier, whether big or small. A win is always going to be a win, no matter what it is. And even just for taking that initial step, right? I think sometimes change is scary. I know for myself, I'll say that change is always scary. But we gotta jump in there, right? We gotta get those boots on the ground. We gotta take that first step. And then just know that there's always someone there to support us. So just, yeah, I really want to say that. And I think for myself, I'll share my own personal win is really, I consider a win because coming home, I've been home now 5 years. I hit the ground running, and I burned myself out because I wanted to be involved in everything and everyone and help it do the most. And I stopped making intentional time for like family or things of that nature. Like, I wanted to do it and try it, and I did my best, but then after it was like so much that I burned myself out. I think for this year for me as a win is really finding that balance. And I still got work to do, trust me. I still got work to do. We're at work. With IJ. It's been a tough year. It's been a tough year. It's been a collaborative year, a really year of team building and really just supporting one another as a team. So I'm grateful for that. But then also my personal life, right? There's so much things going on. So finding that balance of work and personal, and then learning how to say no, right? Like sometimes, like, my heart's there and I want to be there, and it's just like sometimes I can't. And if I want to be there, really want to be there wholeheartedly and not be like that dead person in the room, like just tired and just drained, or whatever it might be. So I think really for me that's a win, is finding that balance. And then being intentional in those relationships. A few weeks ago, I got to welcome my friend Edwin home after 17 years of incarceration. He was my roommate in there, my cellmate for 5 years. We created a great bond. He's my brother. So really was happy that I was able to make it there and be at the gate upon his release. And there's been others that I wanted to be there and I just couldn't, and that used to bug me. So I'm being intentional, making space for those people that I truly love and care about.
I love it. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for sharing. I'm gonna pass it back to Brianna to get us taken through our close. It's about 7:50, so we have about 10 minutes left. But I wanted to thank everybody for showing up tonight, and really just sharing with us, big wins, little wins, everything in between. Really appreciate it. I'm really just excited for next year. So I hope y'all stay tuned. For those that are here for the first time, I hope you continue to come back and hear about all of the wonderful things that we have planned for next year. Like I'm just ready to have January's meeting already so we can talk about all the fantastic plans that we have in store. Like I'm ready to spill the beans. But I'm not gonna spill the beans yet. I'm not gonna spill the beans yet. I'm not gonna do it. But just wanted to say thanks, everybody. This is the last meeting of the year. So it's sort of like, oh, we did it, we made it. So just we can all take a big breath, and whether you shared or not tonight, I just wanted to leave folks with, you made it to the end of the year, you made it through, and you will continue to make it through whatever life throws at you. So as long as you just remember you're a tree, you can bend, but you won't break, you'll be okay. I promise you. And with that, I'm going to get off my soapbox and give it back to Brianna so she can take us through to our close. But thanks for joining, everybody. See you next time.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much for just engaging in that. And congratulations to all of you for those wins, and just we made it, we're here, and then we're entering the new year with these wins and just gonna go even stronger. So I'm just really excited for all of that. And this is the last meeting of the year, but you will hear from us one more time as our final newsletter is going to come out towards the end of the month. And speaking of those resources that kind of keeps you all connected, it's definitely going to include a lot of resources, and you'll be hearing more of those next year too. So just stay tuned for that newsletter. But before you all go as well, just wanted to remind you all that we will be going on our winter break. So our office will be closed Monday, December 23rd. And we'll reopen on Monday, January 6th. So just please be patient with us during that time, as we're going to be away from our emails. And then lastly, just to have you all in the loop and ready to start the new year with us, we wanted to share the RSVP link for our January meeting, the first meeting of the year. That is going to be a hybrid, so that's going to be both in person and virtual. Please be sure to RSVP, and also in this RSVP link, you'll be able to let us know if you plan to join in person or virtual. Also, don't worry if plans change and you said that you're joining in person and last minute things change, no worries. Still, please join either way. That is just best for you. And then I saw a question, will I receive the invitation emails? Yes. You will receive those once you use the RSVP link. So just always be sure to register for that. And if there's no questions or anything, we just want to thank you all again for joining us for our last meeting of the night. It's always great to have you all in space, and we're just excited to kick off the new year with you all. So thank you so much, and we hope you all have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, everyone. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays, whatever it is that you happen to celebrate or not celebrate. But I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the month, and can't wait to see y'all next time.
Same to you. Good
night,
night.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See you next year.
See you next year.